You're listening to DraftKings Network.
Welcome to the Big Suey, presented by DraftKings.
Why are you listening to this show?
The podcast that seems very similar to the other Dan Le Batard podcast.
I'm sorry, I'm not going to apologize for that.
In fact, the only difference seems to be this imaging.
I have been tempted in restaurants just walking past tables to grab somebody's fries that if they're just there. That hasn't happened to you guys?
I've done it.
And now, here's the marching man to nowhere, Fat Face, and the habitual liar.
I wanted to talk, Stugotz, because I see after just a couple of games into the basketball season, I saw a little spark in Chris Cote and Mike Ryan, early season basketball. We've talked for a few years about fan width, Stugotz. There's just so much going on in sports. You've got to choose. You can't care deeply about everything and have a life. There's LeBron was playing somewhere on Sunday night.
You know what? I'm glad you brought that up. He's still doing that. I cannot believe that he's still doing it. It's a Sunday night, okay? I'm certain the guy wants to be home. He wants to be watching Sunday Night Football. He is still trotting out there on a Sunday night, playing games, 39 minutes, a game that went into overtime. And I think he had 29 points, 10 assists, 8 rebounds, near triple-double, something like that. He's still trotting out there on a Sunday night playing 39 minutes against the Kings. When's it going to stop?
Are you advocating for LeBron to just stay at home to watch Sunday night football, certain games?
I just marvel at the guy. I appreciate the guy that he is still doing this at 39 years of age. He is still willing to go out on a Sunday night. I don't know why I'm pointing out Sunday night.
Why do you keep pounding on this Sunday night?
It's a weekend. It's a Sunday night. People like to have dinner. They like to be home.
You know he doesn't work a 9 to 5.
Yeah, I know.
He doesn't have a normal job.
I don't care.
No,
Sunday nights are meant for a family dinner and Sunday Night Football.
Load management, but just for Sundays.
Yeah, I mean,
What are you doing?
he's trotting out there on a Sunday night where he should be home with the family.
Stop saying Sunday night.
Having a little dinner with the kids, and he's playing the Kings. He's playing 39 minutes.
This is a weird take because now you're anti-load management. Like, the easy way for you to go today is, why is Jimmy Butler taking the third game of the season off for rest? Like, what are we doing there with the toughest condition, hardest working, blah, 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 culture thing?
Right.
And then the third game of the season is like, I'm tired.
It just says rest.
I'm tired, rest, nah. And then LeBron is out there playing, and you're like, he shouldn't be playing. He should be resting. He should be eating dinner.
Why does everything have to be a take? I am just marveling at the greatness and longevity of LeBron James. That's all I'm doing.
Adam Silver had a press conference and said, you know what we're going to do? We're playing again. These DMP minute restriction rest things are going to end. And like Bradley Beal is sitting and Jimmy Butler is sitting the third game of the season. It's the same thing. But you want to talk about LeBron James, and he posted this photo because even for him doing something athletic, I mean, we're pretty numb to it. But at his age, being the oldest player in the league, he shared this photo on social media, him stealing a ball that was intended for Kevin Durant. That's Wembanyama type of physics right there. That doesn't make sense, and he's doing that as the oldest player in the league. So yeah, I'll give him a little bit of credit for playing.
We'll get back to that in a second, him trotting out there on a Sunday night when he should be having dinner with his family.
Yeah.
But the first 2 games of the season, the Lakers, when he was on the floor for 64 minutes, were plus 20. When he was off the floor for 32 minutes because they were limiting his minutes, they were minus 52.9. The idea that the oldest player in the league after 20 years can still be better, that can still be a top 10 player is asinine. Like that doesn't, for all the things he's done in his career, the idea that they would be a legitimate contender this year just because he's going to be their best player because he needs to be a good deal better than Anthony Davis, and that might make them a contender. I think Mike's point is an interesting one when he talks about load management, though, Stugotz, because it seems pretty obvious based on last year that Jimmy Butler's economy at this point in his career is get me to maximum strength for the last 20 games so the wheels don't fall off the last 4 of those 20 games because I go from being Michael Jordan to I can't get through the playoffs. The whole thing is built to, if this is the way they're going to be built, If they're not going to get any of the whales, if it's just get better around Jimmy Butler, then the whole season is going to track science, nutrition, game management, all of it to how is Jimmy the strongest the last 20 games. That's all that matters. And I don't know how you make the regular season matter from there, Stugotz, when the Heat just showed you as an 8 seed. Just Jimmy's got to be right for 20 games.
I understand where you're coming from and where the Heat's coming from, and proof is in the pudding, but the NBA did prioritize this. Joe Dumars was out there touting the metrics that it actually doesn't help injuries in any way. Playing more is fine, and you owe it to your fan base to actually have your stars show up. I'm sure Minnesota, who was chanting, "Where is Jimmy?" at the end of that game, would have loved to have seen it, and considering the loss, Heat fans would have probably liked to have seen him suit up too. I do think that we're almost at a breaking point when it comes to this sport, and so far, the NBA players and these teams have called the NBA's bluff when it comes to this.
But, Mike, this is their one star, their lone star, Jimmy Butler. Maybe Bam, you want to say Bam, that's fine, but he's their lone star. So the importance for Jimmy Butler of being healthy going into the postseason is far more important for the Heat than it is, let's say, Jaylen Brown for the Celtics. The Celtics have 4 other great players.
I mean, I know
they did. That starting lineup is ridiculous.
I know the data is skewed, and you can play with numbers, and the NBA wants to tell us a certain story, and you can make numbers work for you in that respect. But when it comes to resting players, the fan in me sees, proof in the pudding, Heat make the finals because they manage these minutes. But if you have data that suggests this actually doesn't help, and all it does is it makes fans that spent money on tickets upset, then yeah, go out there and play.
I've honestly been paying more attention to the teams like involved with all these trades around the Heat more than the Heat early on. I've been hate watching basketball. Like DeAndre Ayton is averaging 8 points a game, and I'm like, yeah, you see?
Chris,
should have taken Tyler Hero.
Chris, this is where I wanted to head with all of this.
He was never on the table, according to Pat.
Because this made its way into the weekend, and this is how the Heat would be able to steal some of the attention that will go to limited fan width. Because it's a lot, man. And if one of the things that gets you to pay attention to the early season Heat, when we're telling you in Game 3 it doesn't actually matter and they're going to be load managing all season, the way to do it is, I'm interested in the Bucks when Lillard scores 39 or goes 2 for 12 and they are losing by 30. 2 games into the season, you were hate watching the Bucks, weren't you?
That first game was tough to watch. Oh, my God. When
he was
went
great,
off.
yeah.
Last game when he was terrible, a little better. A little better.
I mean, he was really bad. He had as many turnovers as he had points, 6 of each.
I needed that. Heat fans needed that game.
Yeah, and also I will say that I know even in that 39-point game, that's exactly what Giannis needs. Defensively, turnstile. Maxey was cooking him the entire night. So, yeah, I'm watching through the prism of, well, now that we don't have him, I hope he really falls off.
Still, hate with love, hate with passion. Somehow the Heat were not interesting enough to you to get your attention during the last regular season. It wasn't.
I checked out on them for all the homer shit that I get hit with. And there wasn't a bigger anti-Heat voice last season, and they made me look like a fool. But I'm doing it again this year.
Why did Zagacki just make an appearance?
Like a fool.
There's only one way
touchdown! What a great call by Josie.
Oh, that was electric.
Yeah, it was awesome. But hey, Miami won, so you won't talk about them.
Right. Well,
let's do that. Well,
I was so close to having a date with Tony Elliott.
No, Mike, I will talk about them, even though the last couple of games have been
I'm shocked you knew that.
Overtime victories. God Bless Football has a trend going of bringing on the coach that has broken Mike's heart. How many straight weeks did you do it? Just to
every loss.
Okay, but the last couple of games, we should give the University of Miami, because we pounced on them. The last 2 games, they've beaten Clemson in overtime with their backup quarterback.
Yeah.
And they beat Virginia. And I don't think Virginia's any good, but Virginia did do that at North Carolina. Miami was a big favorite, barely won. And there are a million reasons people are going to get frustrated with Mario Cristobal, including in town, you've got a coach who's super aggressive in the pro level. Super, super aggressive, teaching you what offense can be. And you've got a great offensive line. Van Dyke's got plenty of time to throw, Stugotz. They've got a quarterback problem. I didn't think they were going to have a quarterback problem. I did not think they were going to have a quarterback problem. That team could be better if he were better. And he's making bad interceptions with plenty of time. Maybe there are more quarterbacks around the league, around all of college football, that are getting more time than Van Dyke, but he's protected. He's got time. And it may be a failure of his receivers, but he's making some bad decisions as well.
His receivers are getting open. He has all the time in the world. And I told you before the season, everyone wants to point back to Tyler Van Dyke of 2 years ago. And Rhett Lashley's offense, led by Jalen Knighton, scored 69 points over the weekend for SMU. I don't want to see the Tyler Van Dyke from 2 years ago. I want to see the Tyler Van Dyke from the first 4 games of this season. That would, to me, was the new model. And I told you before the season, I'm kind of not all in on TVD because he's the type of quarterback that needs everything to go right for him, and that includes health. And he's banged up. I know he was wearing a brace. He took a hard shot at North Carolina. He played well in North Carolina, I think. He plays better on the road, it would appear. But, yeah, he's locked into his primary read, and it's always Restrepo. Restrepo was the read on that first interception, and he underthrew it by 5 yards. They have to fix this with the quarterback because my entire adult life, Miami does not win the game that they won the last 2 weeks, getting that from the quarterback position. And I know, Stugotz, I've already read your observations, and you want to kill Miami for winning. I'm not apologizing for winning because Miami always loses that game. Year-over-year improvement, surviving that from your quarterback, that's an impressive win.
Maybe he just needs some crowd noise to play better. Maybe it's too quiet at home.
Mike Ryan is again dressed like an athletic trainer today, head to toe with his University of Miami gear. He was the whole UM women's basketball team is the coolest story as we've got in town. He was at Highlight with them on Friday. He is a full-on booster and athletic trainer and journalist on the inside.
Seems like a conflict, but regardless, Dan, to answer your question. Just to answer your question, we had Brent Key, the head coach of Georgia Tech, after the Canes lost to them on that final play. And then we had Mac Brown on after they lost to UNC. But here's the thing. The curse of God bless football is back. Mike should be happy because Mac Brown and Carolina went out and they lost right after he came on with us.
I don't think God bless football has anything to do with what Mac Brown always does.
I don't know.
That's right. God bless football.
Debatable.
Responsible for all wins and losses all over the universe. Put it on the poll, please, Juju, at Batard Show.
One last thing, because this is the first time I'm allowed to talk Miami Hurricanes football in the last 2 weeks. I would love to give some shine to Rueben Hurricane Bain.
You know what? Hold on just a second.
Because he might be the best defensive lineman in the nation, and he's a true freshman.
Mike, I will. He's been wanting to talk about this nonstop for months.
That's all I wanted to say.
No. But
no. It's fun when we lose.
Hold on, Mike. I'm going to endorse you. I'm going to endorse you on this. It was fun to watch Rueben Bain on Saturday take Virginia linemen and throw them back with their arms waving because he's very strong and fast. It is fairly ridiculous to see how quickly he gets through the line and people are backing away from him as if something's exploded at their feet. He is exceptional, clearly.
Rueben Bain and Mark Fletcher and Mawagoa, these are players why you have to, and $80 million as well, why you have to believe in this and just see this crystal ball project out.
Do you believe in the darkness yet?
Hey everybody, happy football season. It's Mike, and let me tell you what I do from kickoff to the final whistle. I have a Miller Lite in my hand. I just don't go wrong with it. I learned from experience. There is only one light beer worthy of our national obsession, because what's the point of having a beer if it doesn't taste like beer? You don't want to spend any time while you're watching football thinking about what you're drinking. And with the dependable flavor of Miller Lite, you don't have to worry about it because it's only got 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12-ounce serving. With a smooth taste and a crisp, clean finish, you'll get all the taste that you crave without the calories. A light, less filling beer that tastes great in football, there's just no topping that, folks. At least not for me. This season, do what I do. Crack open a light beer that hits your taste buds so hard, you feel it in your heart. Make it Miller time all football season long. Get Miller Lite delivered right to your door. Visit MillerLite.com/Dan, or you can find it pretty much anywhere that sells beer. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces.
Don Le Batard.
If all the raindrops were lemon drops and gumdrops, oh, what a rain that would be.
Stugotz.
Standing outside with my mouth open wide. If all the raindrops were lemon drops and gumdrops, oh, what a rain that would be.
This is the Don Le Batard Show with the Stugotz.
we will get to all of the college football and professional football that are part of our Monday, not good for you, congested digestive system, just belching out football on a Monday. Because it's one of the few common grounds we all have in America today. Certainly the people listening to this can't get enough football. But before I get to the football, I don't want to just skip past a sports story from the weekend because boxing doesn't matter the way that it used to in this country because they've distorted it with a bunch of Pauls and circus freak fights and Conor McGregor being carried around the ring by Floyd Mayweather, who said this weekend in some video that I saw that he now owns 9 skyscrapers in New York. I don't think that's true. I'm guessing he's getting dividends from a company or from a place where many people are able to buy skyscrapers, but he's done very well for himself because he was first to, I'll keep all my own shit, all my own pay-per-view. I'll be a just business mercenary, and that's fine. 50 Cent can make fun of me because I'm illiterate, but I'm going to be in the golden age ahead of everyone in sports at making money on my name and keeping that money, not sharing it with Dana White, not sharing it with the networks, just having allies. Floyd Mayweather conquered the sport, and then people watched the circus freak fight of Conor McGregor, and that wasn't a real thing. But this weekend, Stugotz, because boxing in this country used to be, boxing, if the Giants are going at it, everyone in America is watching. It is the event in sports. That's what used to be. But in Saudi Arabia, you had Ngannou and Fury, and I don't know if people have been paying attention, but the Klitschko's were great champions. Not good, Stugotz. Great champions. Dominated heavyweight boxing, and people lost interest because they weren't from here. We didn't have people from here. We didn't have interesting personalities. Deontay Wilder wasn't enough. Tyson Fury is a beast. He conquered those 2 beasts who are now fighting in Ukraine. He conquered the heavyweight division and has been a great champion. And I don't know if he underestimated Ngannou, but what Ngannou did in that fight was stunning to me as somebody who knows that you don't take a punch and fall down. There was no carrying Ngannou around the ring. At the center of that ring, Fury told Ngannou, time to take you to school. And then Fury went down, and Ngannou stood over him and yelled, "You're a bad professor. You're who's taking who to school now?" And if Ngannou was a more experienced fighter, he would have ended that fight there, or he would have ended it later with body shots. But he's not experienced yet. But holy shit, that guy won in every way over the weekend because he got out from under Dana White, out from under the business, and is now making his own money. And Tyson Fury will have to seriously train for the next time he fights him because he's got the punching power and the chin to stand somehow toe-to-toe with a great heavyweight champion.
But not in every way. I mean, he lost the fight.
Every way but that one.
Right. That's the important thing.
That's the war. Yeah.
Right. It felt kind of icky after the fight. The whole thing kind of felt icky. Tessitore constantly calling the leader of Saudi Arabia His Excellency. That felt a little weird. And then at the end, Ngannou not upset, seemingly, about the result. It just felt like, I know boxing with the fixes in, but it felt weird with how Ngannou just took the loss. I didn't see because he got a knockdown. I don't know
victory though.
I don't know the way boxing scoring works, but I thought
it's 10-8 there. But the rest of the fight, I mean, look, it was a split decision, and it wasn't horribly refereed, but one judge had the fight for Ngannou, and the other 2 judges had it for Fury. But the point was that he stood with him and he knocked him down, and that wasn't fake. The way Tyson Fury's face looked after the fight, that's not fake.
I understand where Chris is coming from, but maybe what's going through Ngannou's mind is where he's been. Everyone knows about his story. He was unhoused in France, and maybe he's looking at that moment as like, I just won. I just won, and I don't have to worry about Dana White's $50,000 bonus here. I just got a bag.
But he lost,
and he secured he performed so well that he'll get more fights. So that's probably where he's thinking there. Like, if he embarrasses himself there, he probably doesn't get other fights. Now he's going to get more fights.
I don't want to say because of the construct and the evolution of one of the things Mike was talking about last week, which is fame is the new good, that the big boxing fights have been circus things. They haven't been fights because you care about boxing. And I don't want to say Ngannou skips the line here because his story is crazy. This is one of the toughest human stories you will ever hear in sports, what he has overcome. And Dana White tried to bleep him, like really tried to put him under the thumb, the way he's got John Jones under his thumb, the way he has conspired with everyone in business to hold fighters down and squeeze the income out of them as some of them live in their cars. Ngannou escaped the thicket of that system and just cut the line straight to the top of the heavyweight box office from the other sport because of his showing in that fight. And it's one of the few boxing things, like you could quibble about the micro things. You didn't like the judging or whatever. But what you can't quibble with is that dude just won at business. That guy just secured himself because he's going to get to keep all of the money from now on his 2 or 3 next fights. And he's going to do the Floyd Mayweather stuff.
It went exactly the way that you would want, in that I didn't watch this fight. Middle of the afternoon college football season. It's just not going to work for me. And
you'll watch the next one?
Unlike everybody that was tweeting about boxing saying this is why I don't watch boxing, I kind of got to that point and I legit don't watch boxing. But that stopped fairly recently. And what I do recall from my time watching boxing is Tyson Fury ran through everybody. And if people are saying online that this guy beat him and it's a controversial split decision, I'm interested now, because Ngannou did what a lot of people said, which is if someone that big with that punching power hits you, you're going to go down. And he made Fury go down. And if you look at the list of heavyweights right now, the fight you want to see next is actually this guy that came over from the UFC and didn't box before going in with the boxer of his generation. It's a pretty great story.
You had Fury before the fight talking about how he trained with beers and burgers for this. And then in about the 8th round, I'm thinking, probably not a good choice to do that.
Yeah, but he won.
Well, a cool thing that I saw from the highlights, and I did not watch the fight, so there is an element of me BSing through this, but what I had heard from people that did watch the fight was usually when the boxer ties you up, that's a bit of a break for the boxer, but he gets into a tie-up, and Ngannou's initiating offense off of breaking it up because he's manhandling him with his strength. And the deeper that fight went, the difference in conditioning started becoming apparent.
Not just that, because clearly those are two very different 270-pound people. And Ngannou took an elbow. I mean, Tyson Fury doesn't get manhandled. He keeps people at a distance. Deontay Wilder is said to be the biggest puncher in the history of the sport. And Tyson Fury could keep him at a distance, but Deontay Wilder is not the size of Ngannou. And Ngannou's strength, I don't think people understand this. Do you understand what his stamina has to be in that sport to be a heavyweight going into the late rounds? Like this is where the mixed martial arts can meet, and Tyson Fury can underestimate this human being who's like, Stugotz, this is the Rocky story where Tyson Fury has gotten to the top of the mountain.
Except Rocky won.
Tyson Fury is the king. You should like this because
he lost the first one, Mike. Okay. I know. You're right. Yeah.
Tyson Fury is the king of heavyweight fighting. He's got a reality show on Netflix. It's super interesting. It'll take you in the mind and into the life of somebody who's dealing with mental illness by his own admission.
They'll fight again? The two of them?
Sure.
Yes?
For sure.
The rematch is set?
And it'll be a huge fight for Ngannou, who will keep his business part of this, it really is fascinating to me as a victory. But this I don't know if this is Mr. T. It's probably Mr. T. Rocky. Fury is fat and happy training with beers and burgers doing a reality show, and Ngannou is coming from Africa and homelessness into the heavyweight sphere, which is, Stugotz, these are the toughest people with the most desperation, the people who arrive at the top of boxing because they don't have any other options and they got to fight other human beings for money.
Right.
Tyson Fury has gotten to fame and celebrity, and Ngannou's fighting for something on behalf of other fighters. Ngannou's fighting on behalf of, no, you can do this if you bet on yourself and you get out from under the grip of how dirty these businesses are. I mean, boxing, Stugotz, is worse than all of them. Mixed martial arts, worse than all of them in terms of how poorly they treat the fighters.
You're saying who is Clubber Lang? Which one? Ngannou?
I'm saying this is
important.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, that
because
is.
you remember Rocky didn't prepare for his first fight with Clubber Lang because Clubber Lang accidentally killed his trainer, Mickey. And then Rocky, once he got past the fear, the speech on the beach by Adrian, one of the great speeches of all time in the history of movie making, then Rocky, like a light went off, and he went back to basics. He trained with Apollo, came back, and then he took care of Mr. T.
Jessica, I need to engage you here. because this is, yeah.
By the way, training Rocky. Training Rocky seems to be a dangerous job. Say no to that if it ever becomes available.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't work out for Apollo in 4.
You're right.
Spoiler alert.
Burt Young passed away recently.
Rest in power.
I didn't even get to talk about that.
Oh, my goodness. It's 3 now. This is a trend.
Paulie, but Stallone looks better than ever. I saw him on all the...
Of course he does.
Steroids.
I don't understand. Expendables 4, he does, or 400, he doesn't look ridiculous. He looks like he belongs next to Statham. It doesn't make sense. How old is that man? Isn't he Boppy's age? How is Sylvester Stallone still clearly a movie star? How many surgeries is that?
77 years old. Not 77 surgeries.
I thought you were saying
years old.
The number of surgeries.
Yeah.
Jessica, this is the Stugotz wheelhouse.
HGH bug chugs he threw out of his balcony in
Anytime
Australia.
I want to talk about boxing for the last 20 years.
You brought up Mr. T.
All he does is Rocky. It's the only reference point he has. He offers me nothing else, but he loves to talk about it. It's my fault. It's my fault. I should know better by now. But how are you experiencing him going through the storyline of Rocky, which is the only language he has for boxing for 20 years?
If I'm being honest, I've been reading Bill Connolly's S&P Plus College Football Week 9 review.
Wow.
There's a 5-way tie right now for first place in the Big 12 because of the Kansas-Oklahoma game. But I can continue with the Rocky conversation.
No, we have to get to college football.
Wildcats are always in that conversation, huh?
Who's the Apollo Creed in that book?
Rocky Top?
We will get to football and...
Look.
I think Bill Connolly writes a book every week.
A book a week.
Who's the clever leg in that conference?
Yeah.
Bingo.
Watch out for the pokes.
Jessica, he's referencing movies from 30 years ago, and you have no reference point.
50 years ago at this point.
You said Mr. T. I mean.
It is. It's my fault.
Yes.
It is. I did. I brought it up. I was trying to speak a language he understands.
You did.
Where's Kansas?
Oh, Kansas.
Sometimes it's super tough to fit working out into your fall schedule. Between back to school, work obligations, family, and the return of football, fitness often falls down your priority list as a result. But your fitness shouldn't fall into that trap, especially if you're spending your hard-earned dollars on it. Enter the Peloton app. Motivation that moves you, hooks you, and works for a variety of budgets. At Peloton, your routine should never feel routine. Flip the script this fall by tapping into Peloton's endless variety of exercise options with Peloton Bike and Bike Plus. From intervals to club banger rides, your workouts can go from can't face to can't wait. Plus, Peloton's not just a class, it's a fitness entertainment mashup that'll have you whooping along at the top of your lungs and telling your friends afterwards. Plus, it really works. 90% of Peloton households that join at the start of the year are still active 12 months later. Unsure? We've got you. Try Peloton Bike or Bike Plus free for 30 days. Not for you? Return it for a full refund. Find your zone with a 30-day worry-free home trial of Peloton bikes. Visit onepeloton.com/home-trial.
Panera's You Pick 2 lets you draft your perfect meal, like a smoky buffalo chicken toasted baguette and creamy mac and cheese. Think you're an expert at picking the perfect pair? Play Panera's You Pick 2 football challenge from DraftKings, and that skill could make you richer. Because there's $45,000 in total prizes up for grabs. Predict which iconic football duo you think will perform best in 9 weekly contests, October through December. Free to play on DraftKings. Learn more at DraftKings.com/Panera. Eligibility restrictions apply. Void where prohibited.
Don Le Batard.
I think I'd like to know when I'm going to die because I sort of romanticize the idea of like living like you were dying when you're on a countdown clock. Imagine all the life experiences. Like I could go skydiving or Rocky Mountain climbing.
Stugotz.
Roy brings up a point, though. Like, Roy does bring up a point. Like you might be risking paralysis. And
that's totally trampled my bit. Just totally trampled my bit.
But Mike, what if God forbid it says you're going to die in like a week? What if it says a week though? Like or 2 days or a month? I don't want to know that.
Well, then you just love deeper and speak sweeter and give forgiveness to those that you've been denying. Someday I hope you get the chance to live like you were dying.
Do you have more, or is that it?
No, thank you guys for letting me go through that smoothly.
This is the Don Le Batard Show with the Stugotz.
Die. We're all gonna die. We're all gonna die. We're all gonna die. The oceans are all burning and we're all wondering why. Let's turn on the news and find out how we're gonna die. Die.
we were unable to procure and get to travel the $6.3 million animated face that was accompanying this horrifying climate fact of the day. But I walked in today, Stugotz, and I asked sort of incredulously, did everyone see what happened to Acapulco? And no one had seen it, Stugotz. And what happened in Acapulco is a tropical storm. People were warned, hey, a tropical storm is coming. It's not something too terrible. And in 12 hours, it increased in speed so fast that it became a Category 5 hurricane and wiped out, like, their bodies, and just wiped out a place that didn't have warning, the kind of normal warning that we have for these things that allow us to evacuate. And now a place, a populace, certainly at least, that people have heard of. Like this, some of this stuff has been happening. We had 6 hurricanes going on at the same time around the world recently. Like, it's been happening, but because it doesn't happen here to places that we care about or to people that we care about. Like, if one of this apocalypses hits someone you care about, their life is going to be ruined.
Right. You'll start to care, correct. But to have something go from a tropical storm to a Cat 5 that quickly, that is scary.
It's never happened before.
Right, that's scary.
That's pretty quick, and we reside in a place where storms get really powerful really fast. And across the Gulf, everyone should be getting used to that because they get microwaved over there.
But 12 hours, usually they'll tell you, hey,
especially
48 hours from now, Cat 2, Cat 3, 5 days from now, maybe a Cat 5.
Especially in a part of the world that doesn't have to deal with that all the time. Like, we're used to having to mobilize quickly for strong storms, not Acapulco.
This is the new normal, I would say, and I don't mean to be alarmist or fearmonger. It's not illegitimate. I know many of you do not think that one of the world's funniest people is making impending doom funny for us because poured himself into Don't Look Up, a movie meant to point out to everybody, hey, we're doing some really stupid shit, and these storms are going to come to houses near you soon. Because is that fear-mongering? Like, it seems just obvious. If it happens in Acapulco,
it's reality, but I kind of want to detach a little bit. I would really love to talk about the games today. You know what my fear is? Is like getting what Magic Johnson got in Hawaii, that alert that saw him show up in a bunker because I think my phone's going to go off because the world's going to end at any second. You have the climate stuff. You have international political relations. You have very easily the doomsday clock is approaching.
A mass shooting in Maine.
Yeah, it's just all bad. It's all bad. And one of my big fears is being jogged out of my sleep at 3 a.m. with a phone alert that I can't shut off telling me to take cover.
So A.J. Brown?
Oh, 6 straight now, 125.
Julio Jones?
No, A.J. Brown.
A.J. Brown is
A.J. Brown.
Go.
But he's back.
Unstoppable.
It's 6 straight games, 125 plus. Calvin Johnson did it 5 straight times. You don't get this kind of dominance where someone is manhandling defensive backs because he's too big, strong, and fast. This is not something you get from the wide receiver position. Stugotz, Jalen Hurts has a wonderful skill set, but right now he's throwing to a Randy Moss type of receiver.
Sure.
Can't be covered by 2 guys, can't be covered by one guy, is just bigger and stronger than the people he's going up against.
He has 6 consecutive games of 125 yards plus, which is better than any 6-game span Jerry Rice ever had in his career.
And still less yards than Tyreek Hill.
I know. You can make a legit argument, though, that Tyreek Hill or A.J. Brown should be the NFL MVP.
You have made both of those. You have made now. We are not even into the second hour of the show.
I'm just saying, Dan, it should be said, okay, on all platforms, on every show. Tyreek Hill deserves to be the MVP of the NFL. He does.
Okay. And so does A.J. Brown.
Yeah.
Okay. That's fine. That's good.
He should be in the conversation. Tyreek Hill should win it.
Stugotz.
He should win it.
I don't really want to have an MVP.
Take Tyreek Hill off the Dolphins. Tell me what you think the record would be.
Thank you. You really want.
I wish the MVP wasn't just humans. Because the tush push would be the MVP. We can agree on that,
Billy,
right?
It was stopped.
Did you see?
Yeah.
It was stopped, and then they came up with an audible, like a little evolution of the tush push.
Yeah.
Man, That seems unstoppable.
What was your reaction when it was stopped? I was like, what?
Well, they just messed it up.
They messed the snap.
They fumbled.
Still, I was like, what?
That's not supposed to happen.
But then I saw what Swift did, and they ran out of it. I'm like, oh.
What'd she do?
If you got no.
Did you see Denver played Taylor Swift songs loud at the end of that game? Come on, Denver, you gave up 70 early this season. You cannot taunt anybody.
Yes, you
they can. They should be celebrating this like it's their Super
They've lost 16 straight times to that team.
Another
They beat the
0.4.
Chiefs.
Yeah, they beat the Chiefs.
Take your joy where you can find it, Dan.
Yep.
Yeah.
Russell Wilson, not terrible.
He's been good this season.
He's been all right. Yeah, good for him.
But they gave up 70.
So they beat the Chiefs.
Bad game.
Yeah, exactly.
Happens from time to time.
You said they beat the Chiefs, Stugotz. I want to go over something here with you because they did beat the Chiefs, but clearly, right? This was a funny conversation before the game with Mina and Mike. They're arguing because you can't trust the Chiefs to cover. Nobody wants to bet against the Chiefs because you're scared of them scoring 35.
Of course.
Nobody wants to, but also you bet on them and they have these huge lines and they don't cover as much as they should, but you're just terrified to bet the other side. So lines even inflated in their favor because people love betting the Chiefs and are afraid of betting against the Chiefs. But Mike Ryan, who shows restraint here that surprises me because he's gambling way too much. He says, I'm staying away. I'm staying away. Reports are Patrick Mahomes is sick. And I don't know what that means.
What did Michael Jordan do when he had the flu?
Right. Yep.
And then I watched the game, and it's like, oh, that's what it looks like. Looks like the only time you've seen Mahomes look like that was the Super Bowl where he didn't have an offensive line.
Dude, Kansas City's kind of failed Mahomes, and I know his contract's part of it, and he has the greatest tight end ever. And when you look at their receiving core, you have to take that into consideration. Those receivers are terrible. He's been trying to have them make a play for him all season long, and they failed.
He won a Super Bowl with them.
That might be wilder than Stugotz's failed. Pat Riley failed Miami.
Listen, but
dude, like those receivers are bad. They cut Mecole Hardman. Mecole Hardman comes back and reminds you why they moved on from Mecole Hardman.
Yeah.
Valdez-Scantling is even worse. Don't even get me started on former Fast Twitch Energy Drink Player of the Week, Kadarius Toney. They have Travis Kelce, who's been banged up this season. And nobody on that receiving core wants to step up. They're bad.
I want to talk about banged up for a second.
I'm sure they want to step up. They just, perhaps they can't.
They're not looking like it, and they've drafted. They keep thinking, oh, let's just get this fast guy. We'll turn him into Tyreek Hill.
Right.
It's a testament to Patrick Mahomes that he won without Tyreek Hill. And Tyreek Hill's off to the greatest start in terms of receiving yardage we've ever seen in post-merger. But they could use a receiver.
Stugotz, I want to talk about both of these things. One, banged up, just the phrase banged up, how much of that umbrella covers. Like, banged up in that league is crazy right now, and I want to go through something funny that happened with my wife in a second. But what Mike is saying and what you're saying about Tyreek Hill for MVP, it's not just that he's got unprecedented receiving numbers here in Miami when everyone knows, hey, they're going to be 12 targets there. Can you stop it? They're going to be 15 targets there. Can you stop it? No. But also you go to Kansas City and you're like, well, wait a minute. This used to look like that when Tyreek Hill played there. And Tyreek Hill's going to take that offense from there to here. Mike McDaniel's going to say when offered Tyreek Hill in a trade, yes, everything I have, push it over there, because you're watching every Sunday and you can't believe that you're seeing someone everyone knows is going to get the football and he's too fast for anyone to do anything about it. It's not that he's too big. He's too fast for anyone to do anything about it, so much so that not talking to a deep ball anymore. Like, clearly, he's going to get so open behind your secondary and Tua's going to hit him, and you got to fear it the entire game. And so instead of playing Pittsburgh football offensively, where it's like you're just – 3rd and 4 is like it's a C-section because you're playing in these.
It's called a cesarean section.
It's just
what? Yeah, what did you mean by
that? You
that?
need to get 6 yards gruesomely. It's hard.
6 yards is 3rd and long for them.
I mean,
it's come a long way.
6 yards.
4 yards.
So
what is 3rd and long for the Steelers?
3rd and long. They're lucky if it's only 3rd and long and not like 3rd and 40. They are just so sad. And I will say, there was a stretch of football yesterday in the first half of the Steelers-Jaguars game that was among the worst I've ever seen. It was terrible. Kenny Pickett got slammed into the ground, no penalty. They go out there and kick a field goal. It's like pouring rain. And then they get called on an offensive offsides because their guard was lined up incorrectly. I don't understand that. So then the field goal was longer. It would have been like 65 yards. He missed it. It was terrible. What an awful game. Just disgusting. And Matt Canada, like I was with a lot of Pitt people this weekend because Notre Dame was playing against Pittsburgh and I went to the game in South Bend. So I was with a lot of my Pittsburgh family and they think that Matt Canada is like the absolute most worst person on the planet Earth. And
he's ascending my
They
charts.
were saying that at a game in which Pitt lost 58-7. Their offensive coordinator is also on the shit list, but like nowhere in comparison to Matt Canada. They all want that guy to be gone.
Is there a more frustrating penalty than when a lineman just has their hand across the line of scrimmage? Like when a defense, you ever like offsides, and it's just, how do you, hey, defensive lineman, how about you just look a little left, you see the ball, don't put your hand across.
Chris Cote.
Christian Wilkins did that the entire game against Philadelphia.
Earlier in the season, the Steelers were in victory formation, and their left tackle was called for being lined up incorrectly, or false starting or something.
What's a victory formation?
I'll explain it to you later. It's what teams do when they're winning. They had to punt the ball back to the Ravens and give them one more offensive series. It was absurd.
The Steelers are 4-3. Nobody wants to watch any of that.
They were tied for first place in the conference before this weekend.
So are
in
the
Jets.
Division,
I should say.
Yeah, so are the Jets.
Same record as Joe Burrow.
You say, though, Chris Cote, more annoying penalty. I'll go with just every pass interference, given that it's really hard to come by yards in that sport, except sometimes just the defensive back barrel rolls into your wide receiver 50 yards downfield.